Well, I'm very excited to hear our speakers tonight. We have Joelle Finley and Ken Harris, and they're a dynamic duo that travels the world bird watching. Joelle is the Vice President of the Orleans Audubon Society. She's also our program chair and field trip leader. She wears many hats for Orleans Audubon. And in 2021, she was the recipient of the Swallowtail Kite Award. Well deserved. And she is the secretary of the Louisiana Master Naturalist Program. And I think almost everybody on this call, or maybe everybody on this call, knows who she and Ken are both. Ken, we're so happy to have you from across the pond as a U.S. person. So we would love to hear about your trip to Colombia and hopefully soon your trip to Ghana and the future trips. There's a rumor that there's an Australian trip in the making here. Anyway, without delaying any further, Joelle, you want to go ahead and share your screen?
Is that working?
Looks beautiful.
Well, thank you, Jennifer, and thank you for inviting us. And wait, I have all these funny things on my screen I'd like to get rid of. Oh, someone wanted to be admitted. I just canceled that out. I don't know if John sees that. But anyway, so as the slide says, this is a trip we took this past January. It was our first trip in 2 years, right? And we just said, the heck with it, we have to go. We're getting too old. We can't wait any longer. And we had been talking about this trip for a couple of years. This is our fourth trip to Colombia. In the past, we have done, here's Cali, we've done the Cauca Valley, we've done the Magdalena Valley that came through here. We've gone out to the far east, which is one of my favorite trips, into the Amazonian Basin in Colombia to Mitu and the little town of Errata. But this time we were going to the far south, and I think this area has not been open very long because of the problems that have been going on in Colombia for years. And there's still areas to the west over by the Pacific and further to the east down here, which are still owned or controlled by the drug cartels where you can't go. And but the little state or department of Putumayo, which lies right here on the border with Ecuador, is open for birding tourism, and that's where we decided to go. Just looking at the map of Colombia, so you can see Central America, Panama coming in here. Everyone knows, right, that the west coast of South America lines up with the east coast of the U.S., which I always found amazing. So Central America, which almost runs east-west here, pushes South America way over into the Atlantic to the east. So the time zone is the same in Bogota as it is in New York City. So there's no jet lag going to Colombia, which is nice. And so because you fly into Bogota, and then from there you head south. The Amazon is right down here, just touches Colombia at Leticia, and the Amazon basin is where all these rivers are flowing in. And so some of Putumayo lies in that Amazonian zone. This was our group. Our group was Ken and myself. Our group was Giovanni Ortiz, and some of you may know Giovanni when he lived in New Orleans for 2 years, dreaming of having a Colombian bird watching company, which he has started, and it's called Icaro Birding Tours. And he is the businessman behind. He's an MBA, and he's the businessman behind the tours. Johnny Arango is one of the best birding tour guides in Colombia. And he has his own company called the Andean Birder. And so if you want to go to Colombia roughing it, living in tents and hiking and backpacking, you want to contact Johnny. If you want to go to Colombia kind of high class where you sleep in a bed at night, then you want to contact Giovanni. But anyway, Giovanni will get you set up with Johnny, and you get the best of both worlds when you have both of them. we flew into Bogota. We had to spend a night there to catch a small plane south into the state of Huila. And we got to the airport like around 6 o'clock in the morning, and we sat there and we looked at the plane, and we sat there and we sat there and sat there, and finally they canceled the flight because the weather was so bad down south with fog in that they could not land the plane. I guess they didn't have instruments or something on the plane to land. So what do? We're stuck in Bogota, right? Well, when you have Giovanni, who at an instant can get a van to take us someplace, and you have John here who knows all the birds, they decided they would take us up into the hills, up into the mountains above Bogota. Bogota is at 8,000 feet, so you're already up there. We went another 2,000 feet up in the mountains, fairly close actually to, 10,000 feet. So this is what the Andes look like above Bogota. The Andes are pretty much 100% inhabited, so you never know regular, scenery with houses. So this is above Bogota, and we were actually, it says my internet connection is unstable. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Thank you, Mr. Cox.
So anyway, we were birding along the road as we're heading up the mountain, and you see some pretty incredible birds just birding along the roadside. This is a yellow-fronted redstart, which is actually quickly becoming one of my favorite birds in the world. I think he really is a cute guy. He's also called yellow-fronted whitestart. Black-headed hemisphingus is another fancy bird that we had just on the opposite side of the road from the restaurant where we stopped for lunch. Remember, all this was just
ad-lib.
Really. Ad-lib, yeah.
Totally unexpected.
This was lanyard birding. And of all things to have on a lanyard day above Bogota is an ant pitta. If you know anything about birding in the tropics, you know that all these little ant thingies, the ant birds, the ant pittas, the ant shrikes, the ant thrushes, the ant whatever, very, very difficult to see and much less get a photograph of. And so to have a ant pitta along the road in a ditch on a roadside, because they're buried in all this underbrush, was an incredible sight. This is a life bird for all of us, mainly because it belongs to the Rufous ant pitta group, which we had seen before, but the Rufous ant pitta group has been split into like 10 different species, so new species. And then where else do you go when you're in Colombia in the mountains is you go to these hummingbird gardens. And this is a hummingbird garden at 10,000 feet above Bogota. And whoever owns this place is eclectic, to say the least, because they had all this strange artsy stuff around in their plantings. Well, you can figure that one out. I thought it was cute. But this is the Hummingbird Garden, very small, planted with red hot pokers back here, hummingbird feeders back here, and on 3 sides. It was a 3-sided garden. It was open on the behind where my back is. It gets a little wilder as you go around. But here are some of the feeders. This is one of the buildings there, of course, and some of the wildness of the Hummingbird Garden. And then you think, oh my God, who are you going to focus on? Do I focus on this bird? Do I focus on that bird? So this is the Amethyst-throated Emerald hummingbird, and this is a Tyrian metaltail. The only decent thing about this photograph is that you can see the tail, and the tail is a real coppery color, and hence it's called a metaltail because of that. But he's out of focus, so you just wait a second and you can get him in focus too. So this is the Tyrian metaltail without the ability to see the beautiful copper tail. Glowing puff legs. When I got it back, matter of fact, 3 days ago, I had misidentified this bird and I was trying to make it into something else. And then I noticed this right here and I said, oh shoot, that's what that is. So at the feeder, you get a better look at what a puff legs is. They have this little white tuft of feathers on their legs, like little pantaloons or something, and glowing puff legs. One bird is prettier than the other. The amazing colors on these hummingbirds is pretty, just incredible to see. I don't know, there must have been a dozen or maybe 15 different species of hummingbirds in this Garden. We had both black-tailed and green-tailed train bearers. And the backgrounds are nice because they're the buildings, the walls and stuff. Everybody's favorite go-to bird is the sword-billed hummingbird. And stupidly, I asked John here a little bit later, I said, I was so surprised to see sword-billed hummingbirds at this garden because I thought they were high elevation birds. He said, well, you were at 10,000 feet, you know, so yes, we were right in their territory. And watching these swordbills at a feeder is really funny. And he's so far away that the bee can even get into the feeding port and share some sugar water with the sword-billed hummingbird. And then we have to get this guy out the way, the rufous-collared sparrow. He's pretty much ubiquitous in the tropics, found, I think, from Mexico all the way down, I don't know how far south beyond, probably into Argentina. Iris, have you seen those in Argentina? But the next day, after our little trip up here somewhere in the mountains of Bogota, we did fly down and we landed in the state of Huila because there were two birding locations in the state of Huila. And we spent, I think, 3 nights or 2 nights in Huila before driving further down into Putumayo, which is, and we were just really in Putumayo, we were just really in this small sort of area right around in here. So not a huge portion of Putumayo. Quito is here, so we're very close to the Ecuadorian border. And if you've birded, as I had before, birded the eastern slope of the Andes in Ecuador, you get a lot of the same birds on the eastern slope of the Andes in Putumayo. Showing what the Andes look like as they go through here. This is the town of Pitalito, where we flew into, that was socked in the day before. And the Andes in Colombia split into 3 ranges, the eastern, the western, and the central Andes. But in this very southern part of Colombia, they haven't split yet. They split somewhere right above where this picture is taken. 2 river valley, two main rivers come off and split the Andes into their 3. So we have one continuous massif of mountains. The Pacific is not too far over to the west, but again, that's an area where you really can't go yet. So we flew into Pitalito, and then from Pitalito at the last minute, it's nice when you're the only 2 on the trip, you can make these last minute decisions. First we had said no, and then we said yes, let's go over to St. Augustine, which we did for a few hours in the morning, and then drove over to this wonderful lodge called El Canto. And the story that I don't understand is they believe that the Walt Disney movie of El Encanto was actually based on their lodge. I don't understand how that could be. But anyway, they said they thought the Disney director wanted to come visit them or something, but I didn't quite get how that would happen. After 2 nights, we were 1 night short in El Encanto because we missed the flight down, but after 2 nights of El Encanto, we drove down toward Macoa, which is in Putumayo, and it's kind of the headquarters for birding in Putumayo. We kept going back to Macoa again and again. And you bird along the road because there are birds everywhere. From Macoa, we went down to Puerto Asís, which is our lowest altitude, about 600 feet above sea level, onto the Putumayo River, which actually flows eventually into the Amazon. From there, we went over to the little town of Errata, and went to our walk-in lodge of La Isla Escondida, spent 3 nights there, and then back to Macoa, and then worked up over the massive mountains to Pasto, which is still fairly high, and we flew out of Pasto, birding along the way, of course. So San Augustine, I'm actually pretty ignorant about all this stuff. I didn't realize it's the most important archaeological site in Colombia, and it was an ancient ceremonial and burial site, which was active between 3300 BC and 1350 AD. Nothing is known of the people that were there or did the carvings or anything like that. It was just discovered again in the, let me get this date right, in the 18th and 19th century. It was discovered by a monk called Saint Augustine. Or I guess he wasn't a saint then, he was called Monk Augustine. And Monk Augustine helped preserve the area, and so he got it named for him. I asked Johnny, why in the world is this pre-Columbian site called, named after a monk? So anyway, the story is that he was instrumental in putting it on the map. It's now a World Heritage Site. So these are the stone carvings that they had. There is a museum on site, and these are the stone carvings that were located in a fairly large area around here. There are two types of faces. There's the face that has a mouth, and there's a face that has fangs. And it said that the face that has fangs is actually a mask that this carving is wearing, and the face with the mouth is a, you know, a real face. This smile, and I swear to you, we all believed it. It said vaccine on the middle of it. So, okay, no, we weren't smoking anything. Some of these little statues are really quite beautiful. Here's another one that's a mask statue. Here's a bowl with a frog lid on it. And then the site is
Extensive, very extensive.
extensive and through the forest. So you'd have birds flying around here all the time. And they had these beautiful paths that led down to these areas where they had more of these sculptures on display in the open and being protected. We did have a tour guide with us here who went into too much detail on each of these sculptures. This one, she said, was a mother down here upside down, a mother who just gave birth to this baby, and this was the midwife. I don't think the woman who just gave birth to that baby would have a smile on her face, so I don't think I believe anything about what this thing is depicting. Here's another mask, and behind this grouping is an actual pit where the burial would have been, and these guys are actually marking the site of the burial site. And this is a very famous, Ken said he had seen this in the past, one of these carvings, but our tour guides called this an eagle, which we don't think it's an eagle, with a snake in its mouth. And she said the reason why, you know, they believe this is because you can actually see this today. You can see a bird with a snake in its mouth, and they were just carving what they saw. Well, we'll show you later something that maybe goes along with that. Here's again John Ear and Giovanni, thank you. You can tell the birder and you can tell the businessman, right? This is a burial pit that they concreted in the side to keep it from collapsing, but these are the actual stones that were found in this burial pit. So from there, we drove over to El Canto. You can believe it or not, whether it's going to be part of the movie of Disney. But El Canto is owned by this family, father and a mother, and their two children. And they've turned it into just a birding paradise. So this is the lodge, and the two children are so, they're adults, but they're so talented that they put all this artwork on the building. They've done all the plantings for the gardens, and it's just amazing. The dining area is down below those rooms. There's a map on the wall that one of the sons had painted. Johnny is pointing something out, taking a picture actually with Ken there. The daughter is a gourmet cook and would serve meals like this. This is the best food, the best food I mean we ever had. Their soups are amazing, barbecue chicken and whatever. It was very, very nice. And then just adjacent to the dining area is this little area. It looks like a bar room, but it's not. You can sit at these little chairs if you'd like, and you can stare at this thing back here, because that thing back there is a banana feeder, which brings all the birds in. You could sit there for hours and hours. They wouldn't let you do that because they had other things for you to do. But you could just sit there and watch the birds come in. And in this case, a black-billed thrush and a thick-billed euphonia. Barbets, some of my favorite birds, is a male on the left and a female red-headed barbet. I mean, you can see the hooks for the nails for the bananas to stick on. Gray-headed tanager. Bay-headed tanager. The elevation of this place was about 2,000 feet, I believe. And as you know, when the elevation changed, so does the population of birds. So we're seeing some birds that are just on the edge of the Amazonian basin. Green honey creeper, and you say, why is this bird called the green honey creeper when it's really like blue? Well, for once, it's named after the female. So here is the female green honey creeper feeding her mighty big chick. A bird that's found all over the place. We have somebody in the waiting room, by the way. I'll pass that information along to somebody or one I'll admit them.
Do we know who that is, though?
No, I don't. I think I just admitted him. Buff-throated, we might have a naked man come up on here pretty soon. Buff-throated saltator, a bird that's found all over the tropics. And a great kiskadee, which sometimes you can find in Louisiana. All coming to the banana feeders until these guys show up. So the Colombian chocolates show up and scare everybody else away from the feeders, and they devour all the bananas. And then looking from the balcony of our room, you look down at this little place with its little chair collection. And this is the hummingbird area. And so you could go sit in a chair. Here's some hummingbird feeders here. There's some hummingbird feeders here. There are hummingbird feeders all over the place. You can sit in a chair and you can wait for the birds to come in and try to photograph them off the feeder if possible. And you're so close. I mean, it's just incredible. So crowned wood nymph, white vented plume of tear, and you can see why he's named for his white vent. Sparkling violet ear. Brown violet ear, which really, when you look at him, it's nothing. It's like, oh, it's just a brown hummingbird. How strange is that? But then you get a view like this, and that's a whole different story. And back in the vervain, you'd find things like the common toady flycatcher. And from that little lodge, they have some other property up higher in the mountains, adjacent to a national park, which you really can't get into. And we were driving up into the mountains, and I think the look on Giovanni's face probably says it all, is we had no traffic behind us. I mean, we were stuck here for a while. We were driving up, and I was watching, and all of a sudden we go running into this bank, and the driver is like trying to turn the steering wheel, but the wheels won't turn. So we had like broken the steering thing on the car. And by this time now we have a backlog of
School buses and
stuff behind us, and Giovanni's thinking, oh no, these guys fixed the car. Unbelievable. We don't know how they fixed the car. They said it was just like a dislocated elbow. Who knows? Anyway, so we got to their place up higher in the mountains where they have these two bird blinds, one on one side of the hill and the other on the other side of the hillside. And we sat in each blind for maybe 2.5 hours, right? And there's a different, oddly enough, a different group of birds that come to each blind. So what you're looking for are things like deep forest birds that don't like to come in the opening, orange-billed nightingale thrush. And there are a lot of worms. They keep a lot of worms in there to bring these birds in. Another ant thingy. So this isn't another ant pitta, white-bellied ant pitta, which I think this is the only place that comes to a worm feeder in Colombia
I know.
that they know of. Chestnut-bellied thrush, a beautiful thrush. And guess what this is, huh? So this is our wintering Swainson's thrush that's down in southern Colombia for the wintertime. And then these guys show up, the white-throated quail doves show up, and actually they try to shoo it away because when he's there, nobody else comes in. And an Amethyst-throated green jay or Inca jay, depending on whether or not you believe it's been split from our green jays that are found in the Rio Grande Valley. This was a good bird to find, chestnut cap brush finch. And Schwartz's ant thrush, another one of those ant thingies that you're desperate to see. They also have in that area another hummingbird area with feeders and a banana feeder out that you can sit and see a different array of birds that live at a little bit higher altitude. So we had a southern emerald toucanet, a magpie tanager, lineated woodpecker. This is Ken's photograph of the lineated woodpecker. Big woodpecker, right, like our pileated. Crested orpendula. We had like three different orpendula. And then the town of Macoa. So this is just, as you can see, the window of the car is here, just a drive-by of the statue in the town of Macoa, where they're still paying homage to the Amazonian Amerindians or native
population, yes,
indigenous population, the beautiful scarlet macaw. Central square of Macoa, which we stopped. And the reason we stopped here is because these palm trees had something very interesting living in them. Right in the middle of town, right by the city church. And this does say, you know, I heart Macoa. But here's the white-eyed parakeet that was living in those palms. And all you have to do is stop and park and get out and look up, and there they are. Went to a place, I don't think Giovanni's on this, Giovanni was supposed to join us, but I'll tell you, I hated this place. But anyway, we went to this area that was set up for conservation. It was a cattle farm at one time, and they switched over to conservation. And I thought, gee, that'll be nice. But the only thing you did was walk a gravel road. And we walked, I think, 7 miles on that gravel road before lunch and after lunch. We were greeted by these red-bellied macaws, and red-bellied macaws are similar to our red-bellied woodpecker, and that the red on the belly is like there, which you can't see, or right there where you can't see it. Ken's photograph of an orange-backed croupial, which is essentially an oriole, like a Baltimore oriole iris. A couple of smooth-billed anis scratching each other. Yellow-browed toady flycatcher. These are little, toady flycatchers are small. I think this is Ken's photograph of a chestnut-eared toucanet. So the birding was nice along that horrible gravel road, but the gravel road was horrible. A lettered Aracari, Arasari, and it's lettered because of these little lines up on the upper mandible that somebody thought looked like letters. I never did see that. A turquoise tanager. When you go to the tropics, tanagers are the big things that you really want to see. Ringback trogon eating. Any master naturalists out there know what this is? A grasshopper or something? Yeah. This is Giovanni's photograph. Giovanni sent me some pictures yesterday, and this is his picture of a yellow tufted woodpecker, which was a very...
Better of an ounce.
Huh?
Better of an ounce.
I don't have one. Golden collared toucanet was the bird. The reason to go to this area and walk that horrible road was this golden collared toucanet. This is Ken's photograph. Mine was pretty bad. And this, I'm going to show you this because I'm going to show you a bunch of these, but these are videos that Giovanni takes. And here I am looking at my camera at the horrible picture I took. Here's Ken trying to get that picture that we just showed him. Back here is a local guide, Diego, who joined us for about 6 days. John here had actually only been down in this area once and had never made a trip, so they did pick up a local guide. But here's Giovanni with his phone, okay, taking a video. Here's John here getting that bird in the scope. He waves to Giovanni to come on over. Here comes Giovanni. This to me is just amazing. He puts his phone up to the spotting scope and gets this video of this bird that we had struggled so hard to see. So the two of them together are a great team. John here can find the birds in the scope in about 3 seconds, and then Giovanni comes up with his cell phone. Puts our cameras to shame. So this is that was a very local bird that you can only find in this area. This is Ken's photograph of a wattled guan, and you can actually tell why it's called a wattled guan because here's the wattle hanging down. And this bird we just saw as we were driving along the road heading someplace else. Cute little spider monkey, cutest faces in the world. Spix's night monkey, these were on the property of a lodge or a hotel that we stayed in for a couple of nights, and they had some trails going back into the forest. Now, this is the photograph I said that looked like that stone carving. So here's a laughing falcon, and it has a snake. And the snake was identified as a Bacrops, which is one of the most poisonous snakes, I think, it's a fear lance, right? Too bad we can't tell where the laughing falcon is holding the snake. We don't know if it's got it in its talon or if it has it in its mouth. And this was a long way away. This is Giovanni's photograph of the laughing falcon. We dropped down in elevation, as I said, about 600 feet above sea level, down where we're getting close to into the Amazonian basin, where we found these Watsons, very primitive bird that has the hooks on their wings as when they're just hatched, and they actually crawl around in trees. Gray cap flycatcher, just getting some nesting material. Plum-throated Katinga, which is a good a sought-after bird. Unfortunately, you can't see the plum throat. It looks like a black throat, but it is that plum color. Male on the left and a female on the right. A masked crimson tanager. My favorite of all world woodpeckers has to be this cream-colored woodpecker. Just a bizarre-looking, strange-looking, but beautiful colored woodpecker. And then from here, we were going to our walk-in lodge. So somewhere or other back in these hills is where the walk-in lodge is, and we had to get there. And so we were driving this dirt road forever. Oh, well, this is the lodge. It was built 5 years ago, and this was a closed canopy forest. This is virgin forest that has never been logged or touched, that a Belgian guy, a Belgian engineer decided he wanted to put a lodge in the middle of this forest, and he had this built out of all the local timbers that they cut when they cleared this. Problem is you can't get there by road. So our hotel was in Errata, and we drove to this point right here. The lodge is back there, and we had to walk this trail. That's all right. You can't see the cursor?
I'm not, but I couldn't.
Oh, well, Ken couldn't see the cursor, sorry. So here's our road, and here's the trail. The trail was only 5 kilometers, and according to the website, you would walk it in 2 hours. Well, Ken and I walked it in 5 hours because we're a little slow now, but you drop down across the main river. There's a concrete bridge there, and I thought, gee, that's overbuilt. And but I was glad to see a bridge there, and we didn't have to swim across the river. But the reason why there's a huge concrete bridge there is because the Colombian government was going to build a road right through this area across the Andes, connecting it to the west coast. And so they built this beautiful concrete bridge, and they ran out of money, thank goodness. So they never did complete the project. And in the meantime, the Belgian guy was able to buy this property. So anyway, you drop down across this concrete bridge, and then you go up, and then you go down and cross this creek, and you go up and down across this creek, and then you go up to the lodge. So 5 hours later, 5 hours later, we're there. Oh, and by the way, this was all done wearing black rubber boots, knee-length rubber boots, because the trail, if you stepped off into the muck, you could sink up to your, well beyond your ankles anyway. So part of the trail was this put down these logs, which was nice and not nice because A, the logs got slippery when it was wet, so you would slip all over the place. And then B, they would rot away. So you would have walk through areas of rotted logs, but the forest was nice. We shared the trail with horses. Horses brought our luggage up, so these guys were carrying our suitcases. These were the horse wranglers, also in their rubber boots. And the horses did a lot to destroy the trail too. There's a mule coming along. And you actually could have rented a horse to take you up, but we watched the horse. I watched the horses when they were coming down the trail. And there's an area of trail where it's all rock, and where there'd be a drop off of 2.5 feet or something. And the horses, when they were coming down, could not walk down those drop offs. They actually just kind of hopped down. And I thought, oh, well, you'd wind up on the ground if you were sitting on one of those guys and they decide to jump off. This is not a real smile on my face. I was trying to smile. Everybody else was fairly happy. Finally, we made it up to the lodge 5 hours later, where lunch was waiting for us. Actually, an alcoholic drink was waiting for us, which I didn't think was a good idea. But there wasn't much alcohol, right? It was good.
No, but it was tasty.
It was tasty. And this is the Belgium engineer guy who had this great idea. His name is Jurgen Beckers. And the lodge. This is actually when we were leaving. We became buddies with Jurgen, and a real smile now because we were leaving. But it took us 4.5 hours to get out. We thought we would do the 3 miles in maybe an hour and a half, but it was still 4 hours in the way.
Hard work, hard work.
The rooms were up here, very, very nice, very comfortable. Dinner was down here, hummingbird feeders.
The food here was good. Very, very interesting setup. But if you go up there, you really need to stay a minimum of 4 nights to make it worthwhile. It's an excellent birding area. It really is. But you need 4 or 5 days up there.
And we stayed only 3 nights.
Yeah, we only had 3.
You got up early in the morning because there was one special hummingbird that only came at sunrise, and you had to see it when it was still half dark. I got up the first morning and saw the bird. Ken got up the second morning, and this little guy spent the night up under the roof of the lodge downstairs in the Greenville Tanager, which was quite nice. This is not this is a good hummingbird, but this is not the special hummingbird. No photograph of him because he just never stopped. But pale-tailed barb-throat hummingbird, quite interesting, on the heliconia that they had planted right off the patio. This was a tremendous area for those ant thingies, right? So this is my photograph of a Mustache Ant Wren. And like I said, they're very hard to see, they're very hard to photograph. Giovanni, on the other hand, I think because they always got the scope on it, was able to video a whole bunch of ant. This is a gorgeous ant bird living on their property, and it's just amazing. You see he had some leaves in his way, that's why it's hazy. But just a gorgeous ant bird, and to get a video of it is unbelievable. And they continue to come. So this is a spot-back ant bird that, wait until you see the back of this bird. Oh, you can hear it. Look at the spot backs. I mean, that's just black-faced ant bird. Generally, when you find these, when you see these on the side of a trail or something, there's like one hole through the vegetation where they can actually be seen well. And I guess maybe Johnny put the scope in that one hole.
Yeah.
There are also monkeys. This is again Giovanni's video of this black mantled tamarin with her baby hanging on her back. We have pictures of this, but the video is so much better. Look at the ants that are crawling along this this branch. The faces are just too cute. There's the baby. Oop. This is her tail between her legs. Oh. We also had woolly monkeys. This is a big male. There was a fairly large troop of woolly monkeys. This is his tail back here. He's got this huge, bushy, woolly tail. And to our surprise, I guess they have some canopy towers. They have three, I think. Three canopy towers that you do a little, short walk, 20-minute walk or something to the canopy towers. But we were told we had to wear climbing gear to go up this one tower, which was fairly tall. So we get our climbing gear on.
30 meters up.
30 meters up, okay. And then the ladder, it's almost straight, and toward the top, it kind of leaned out. So you were like going backwards. Up we go. Up somebody goes. This is Giovanni. There was a landing. Here's Diego down on the ground. Here's Giovanni up to the rest stop and hit the final movement. The platform up above. And the view from the top was pretty spectacular. So you were really well above, up in the canopy and above most of the canopy. Birds are different up here. So a gilded barbet, female, paradise tanager. And this was a second tower that we went up the next day. We spent like 3 hours or something up on that tower. You're just waiting for a flock of birds to come by, right? Here, I think, is Giovanni down at the bottom. This was a little bit shorter. The nice thing about this, it had a lid, and it did rain while we were up there, so we were protected. Diego had a backpack where he had cookies and snacks and so forth. Still in rubber boots, so you're still climbing these things with rubber boots. And then we looked out from there, and it was like, oh, look at that. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think there was a 5th one. He's either in this little bunch or he's up above someplace else. This was my phone shot. This is my camera shot. So they stayed with us for about 2.5 hours, and for the most part, they were sleeping. You would look at them, and they'd be sound asleep, eyes closed.
Jennifer's clapping.
Jennifer's clapping. Eyes closed, and then it started raining, and they kind of sat there in the rain with either their eyes closed or open or whatever. Then they woke up, and they all started preening, and then all of a sudden, one by one, off they went. It was just what communication they used, who knows. John here did not think that these were migratory. So I don't know, Jennifer says she can tell, or if they're migratory or not, or maybe they're austral, but anyway, that was our swallowtail kite adventure. And this is not a very good picture, sorry about that, but this bird is too cute not to put him in. It's a striated mannequin. He's got little red streaks on the breast and this red cap, and he was up. We got him from the tower. Another paradise tanager. Who knows why they named it that, right? Can't really understand. Masked tanager.
Gotta call them something.
And then we hiked out 4 hours, and this is again a fake smile, but we're down out back on the road. The horses are back down the road. They made it too, and we're done with the walk-in lodge. We all have our rubber boots on. Feet are feeling wonderful. And another birding area we went to a little bit lower. This is Giovanni again with the black streaked puffbird. Very special bird. He was right over the trail on this branch. I guess that's him. And a coppery chested jacamar, which is kind of a localized species of jacamar. Giovanni's magic. And John Hughes. And the last place we went, I have something here. Last place we went was this road that actually went over over a couple of passes in the mountains, and it's called the Trampoline de las Aves. And I was Googling it yesterday because I wasn't really sure what it was anyway.
Trampoline del Diablo.
And I found out it's also called the Trampoline del Diablo, which means devil's trampoline. And it's also called the Road of the Dead. So not realizing that they said it's one of the most dangerous roads in the world because of all the hairpin turns and it's gravel and whatever. We didn't have any trouble on it. And we made several trips up. So one time we went halfway up and then turned around and went back. That was like a day or half a day or something. Because this is a 5,000-foot elevation gain from where you start in Macoa and the top of the road. So with 5,000 feet of elevation, you go through many different ecozones and into the cloud forest and many different species of birds along this road. So there were areas where you could pull off and safely bird. Sometimes we were behind these barricades birding. And Giovanni has his thumb up because he's happy, but virgin forest on both sides of the road. So very few places can you bird in virgin forest. And this road actually mimics the famous Peruvian Manu Road that also has this drop in elevation because you start at the top when you're on that one and you go down and you lose 5,000 or 6,000 feet. And this one, we start down and go up and we gain 5,000 feet, which is amazing. This is a fake smile on Giovanni because he was actually sick on that day, but he was putting up a brave front, and Johnny was just as happy as Johnny ever is. So lower down in the mountains, there's a little bit of clearing and cultivation and just beautiful mountain scenery. High elevation birds like, or higher elevation birds like Ken's photo or the white-winged tanager. A blue-browed tanager, which is really a pretty tanager. Orange-eared tanager, which is a special bird of this area. You can see that there's an orange patch here. Ken's photograph of the swallow tanager, which we have seen numerous places before, but, and then guess who? Spending his winters down in southern Colombia, Ken's photograph. We saw this exact same bird in City Park a couple of days ago. He looked just like that. And an ant shrike, Ken's photograph of this lined ant shrike along the road. Here's the coppery chested jacamar again. And we were driving along the road and Johnny sees out the corner of his eye something on a branch. And he says, wait, stop, back up. Back way up, and here is this orange-breasted falcon eating probably a pigeon, but look at these feathers. I mean, just gorgeous feathers of this bird. I wish we had seen it a little sooner when it still looked like a bird. But orange-breasted falcon, and I think Johnny had only maybe seen one of these before.
We were very, very fortunate, but people just don't see this bird.
And a fairly nice view of a roadside hawk, which again is found all over the tropics, Mexico on down. And this guy couldn't resist taking. I said, oh, one photograph, that's it. I'm not taking one photograph of a turkey vulture. Higher elevation had the Andean guan and this brush finch, which was a very important bird at
only lived at the top of the pass.
Yeah, way up there. And there's a restaurant right across the, well, I can't call it a restaurant. It was a shack that served food right across the place, right across the road from here, with a lot of brushy stuff along the side of the road. And this bird seems to like that area. White-capped tanager, high elevation. Agile tip tyrant. Yellow-throated tanager even has a little orangey rump. No, vent, sorry. Flame-faced tanager, here's kind of a full bird here and the flame face over there. Scarlet-bellied mountain tanager, which is found all through Ecuador and Colombia. And we actually hit the Paramo, so this is the lowest altitude Paramo that you can find in the Andes, anywhere in South America. This is about 10,000 feet. We were wearing our fleeces at this time. The plant is Asclepias, which we had seen earlier on another trip to Colombia that had a very fancy helmet crest hummingbird in it. Unfortunately, there are no hummingbirds in this part of the Paramo. But some special birds anyway at this altitude with a flower piercer, and you can see the hook on the end of the bill that they use to pierce into the flowers. And dropping down on the other side is this volcanic crater lake, which is at 8,000 feet, called La Cocha Lagoon. The waters of this lake actually drain into the Amazon, not toward the Pacific, but in the Amazon. And crazily, there's a little town there that a guy from Switzerland came and started building these little Swiss chalet huts. So everybody has converted their house to this little Swiss village, and it's very bizarre to see in Colombia, right? This little village. In that little village was this brown-breasted swallow up on a wire, as you can tell. Beautiful flowers. We had this orchid up at the high altitude on that trampoline road. I have gobs of this growing in my yard. If anybody would like a piece of this bromeliad, I don't know the name of it, you're welcome to. I have a piece that's getting ready to bloom now. I'd like to get rid of some. And some more flowers. This is a butylon. So a lot of people have a butylon pictum, I think, in their yard. I don't know what the species is, a yellow butylon that would grow in New Orleans. This looks like a paintbrush, but I'm sure it's not. No idea. And then to end the trip, of course, what do you have to do? You have to go through a COVID test. Here's Giovanni getting everything set up for us. This is not a car wash. It is a walk-through COVID test. You enter the other side. You didn't even leave on this side. I think the samples came out this side.
Yeah, we were very, very lucky that there wasn't a queue. I mean, we just walked straight in. On another day, it could have been quite a lengthy queue.
Yeah.
But the whole system worked very well.
Yeah, and they email you the results within a couple of hours. This is in the town of Pasto, and then we flew from Pasto back to Bogota, and we had a dead room or something, and we went out. So this is what's next. What's next, you ask? I'm not going to tell you anything about what's next. You'll have to tune in. If we ever get invited back to give another talk, and by the way, I'm the one who does the inviting, you'll find out what's next and what these little guys are. So thank you so much. If you have any questions or comments or anything else you'd like to share, go right ahead.